Hello, everybody. So there was a new version of Deforum Diffusion that came out for Stable Diffusion, and what it did was it did provide some 2.0 support. It also did break previous versions of the notebook. So if you are just here just to get your notebook up and running again, this will be real quick for you. I am also, after I am do that, which will be real quick. I'm just going to post the link basically, and you just got to get a copy of the new notebook. But I am also, after that, this new notebook does have support for 2.0. But I do want to do a quick disclaimer before you watch the rest of the video, because to use the 2.0 model in the Deform Diffusion, you do have to have either Google Colab Pro or Pro Plus, because you do need the extra memory for the 2.0 model. So I did, that's why it took me a little while to make this video, because I did test that and I did not get it to work with the standard memory. So if I find that is different, or if I do find a way to run it with that, I will post an update. But for now, I'm just advising, if you don't have Google Colab Pro or Pro Plus, there's really no reason to get the 2.0 model. But I am going to show the 2.0 model, how to get it, and how to actually the 2.1 model is out too, and I've been using that. That is a little better than the 2.0. So with the 2.0 model, they took out a lot. There's, as everyone knows, the most talked about thing with it is the not safe for work filters. So that did take out a lot of images though, so it doesn't generate portraits as good as well, just because of the ratio. So it does generate architecture, but the 2.1 model kind of fixed that, so it now generates portraits as well and other things. So it is a better version than the 2.0. But I don't really consider 2.0 better than 1.5. I can kind of just consider it different. It does do more realistic. You can still, as you can see here, you can still do artistic images. And I'm going to go over also some prompts that I'm sharing on my YouTube channel members here. These are from last week's, but I'm going to have some new ones out this week as well. So I'm going to be sharing some of those also. So if you just want to look at 2.0 or learn how to do it for the future, we can go ahead and do that. So the first thing we're going to do here is go and just paste I have the copy down there for the new notebook, which I think it's the same link, but you do need to get a fresh copy of it. So it's the Deforum 0.6. So let me go ahead now and paste that, and we'll go get right into it here. Okay, we're just going to paste and go to this file here. And the first thing we're going to want to do is, of course, copy it to our drive. Okay, and here we go. We can now close the old copy. We now have it saved. Now, if all you want to do is get your Deforum notebook up and running again, this is all you got to do. Just go ahead and get a fresh copy of this. You can see it is the same link. It is still called 0.6, but if you notice right here, they did add the version 2 base model. So if you just want to keep using the 1.5, it actually is still set to the 1.5, so you don't really have to do anything to use it. Just go ahead and copy it, and you should be up and ready to go. Now, for those who want to get into the 2.1 or the 2.0, again, I think that you can run the 2.0 directly from the notebook, so that'd be kind of an easier way for you to experiment with it. So all you have to do to run the 2.0 from the notebook, I'm going to go ahead and start running my file here to connect, but all you have to do is you just select this, the 512 base EMA. This actually is the 2.0 Stable Diffusion model, and then you just change this to V2 Inference, and then you just run the notebook and you are good to go. However, again, like I said, it will not run without this high RAM runtime shape. So you cannot, I believe you cannot get this. I did test this with a free account and I couldn't access this. So you do need at least a Pro or a Pro Plus account to use it. Now you don't need to upgrade the GPU class, so you actually don't use that many credits just using this high RAM. So I'm going to go ahead and just use that like it is. And like I said, you can just run it just like this for the 2.0 model. But what I'm going to do here, actually, I've downloaded the 2.1 model. And the first thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and mount my drive here, because I've already uploaded it. Okay, and I've provided a link below also to this Hugging Face page. So this is where you can get the 2.1 model, which again, I think is better than 2.0 model. So if you are going to use the 2.0 model, I'd really recommend using the 2.1. Like I said, they didn't re-add in like not safe for work content, but they added in, I think, more people, because the original one took out too many people. So it was still good at doing architecture and things, but with this, you can now do portraits again as well. And I believe also, I'm not 100% sure, but it seems to handle artist modifiers a little better. That's just been my experience, but I am still learning this 2.0. It is different prompting than the 1.5. It is slightly different because it's trained with a different clip model. So you can just download this one right here, the 2.1 512 EMA pruned. I believe this is the one I have. And let me just go and double check on that actually. Now that I have my drive mounted, let me show you where I've uploaded. You also, before you run this, you do want to upload that first before you start running this notebook. If you plan on using the 2.1 model, I would first upload it. If you want to just use the 2.0 model, you don't need to do that. This will, like I said, the 2.0 model is built into the the notebook automatically, but what I have is the 2.1, so let me show you how to do that. So I have also downloaded the 768 file. I have not tried that yet, so I'm just gonna, so right here, this is the 2.1. So it is the EMA pruned. I believe that is, yep, right here, the EMA pruned. So it's this very first file is the one you want to download. And you can also give these other ones a try. I'm not really 100% sure what the difference is between these, but I know this one works, so that's the one I'm using. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. So once you have uploaded that to your drive, again, I just put mine in AI models where most of the other ones go. You then want to go down here, copy the path, and you want to put your model on custom. There we go. And then we just want to copy and paste that model path right there to the 512 EMA pruned version 2.1. And that's about it. We are ready to go. Now that's really all I've changed. I've just changed this. I do actually have a inference file here too in my configs that I have copied, but this is the same one. You can just use the built-in one. I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, I'm just going to use that one. Actually, I'm going to copy this one just in case. I don't think it's any different than the one that is provided here in the notebook, but I'm just going to do that just for the heck of it because I did download that one and uploaded it there to my configs, and now I'm just going to run it. And so that's all you do. Again, you don't need to do this. You can just run that 2.0 model if you'd like, and you can just test it out and see if you like it. And I also am going to get into some prompts here, and we'll come back now and do some prompts. Again, I'm just using, this is a fresh copy of it. I showed you all the changes I did, which is not much. I just changed my custom paths basically and just copied my paths right there. That's really about all I did. Okay, and the notebook is up and running now. I'm just going to select none here, and I'm going to change probably a little bit of the defaults here. Let's just get rid of all this here for the prompt. And I'm now going to select one of the prompts that I'm going to post this very soon. This is some of my new weeklies here. And I am going to start adding prompts for everybody on YouTube here as well as my Patreon members and YouTube channel members. So I did actually make, how I've been making my 2.0 prompts, and I'll probably do a video on this too, is I've actually been making them first in 1.5 and then using Pharmapsychotics Clip Interrogator to kind of convert them to 2.1 prompts. And I am still, as I'm doing that too, I'm also kind of learning some of the different modifiers and things that work well with 2.0. So I don't know if I'll use that forever, but I am using it now just to kind of get a good idea. So I'm going to go ahead and have the first prompt here, which is a couple of people in hood robes walking in the desert, etc. And I'll go ahead and post all the ones I use in this video down below as well in the comments. And here's kind of also what I usually do is I use the Euler first, or Euler, I'm not sure. Yeah, pronounce it. I put it on 40 steps. I'm just doing 512 by 512. And then when I like the composition, I'll put it down to DPM 2SA. So a lot of people say that the 2.0 is kind of not as good as art and better at photorealistic stuff, which is pretty true. It's a lot better at the realistic stuff, but you can also get artistic stuff by just using the Euler, not using the ancestral just in general, not just with this, but with 1.5 do give a lot more kind of photorealistic images. So for now, let's see, I'll just turn that to 8 and I'm going to change the batch name here. 0.6 tutorial guide. This is really more of a demonstration of the 2.1 model. So again, I am using the 2.1 model, not the 2.0, but these prompts will still work on the 2.0 as well. And let's go ahead and let's make 3 of these. Okay, and so I've kind of showed you everything I've changed, which is not a lot here. I'm going to go ahead and run it. We've got our prompt loaded up there, and we should get 3 images here fairly quickly. And there we go. And it looks like we have a couple of people there who happen to be holding hands because I put walking in the desert. Well, it's the AI. They do what they want. And there is this image. And let's go ahead. This also does now. I want you to notice something too. I know a lot of people don't like Colab now with the paid, but what I'm doing right now, if you look at my resources, I'm only using 2.2 credits an hour. So I could run this all night and only use up 24 credits. So it's really, you get into about 13 or 14 credits when you go over here and you change the GPU to like the A100, but to just get the extra memory here, you don't use very many credits at all. It's only about zero point 0.3 higher than using the standard memory, which is 1.9. So I really only use that GPU when I'm like doing a video, like a long video, and I want it to render faster. So I can run this with the extra memory all day long. And I also want to show you something else here. It also handles widescreen now really good as well. So if you look at my resources here, where before that would really struggle, I'm still in the green here, so you can really do those widescreen images like I used to love doing on Disco Diffusion. I've been getting a lot now into the widescreen again, and just showing you, see it still renders it fairly quickly there. And the composition, it does suffer a bit, especially for portraits and people, but like for landscape scenes, like this one is mostly landscape scene with a couple people walking. You can see it still is, it's even keeping it to 2 people. So I'm not sure why it's doing that really, because I really have had most of my experience when you do wide, it really always tries to kind of render the prompt twice. You can see there's a few more people. But let's go ahead now and get to the next prompt here. And so again, I think it's really good for landscape images, that kind of thing. Let's go ahead though and go back to a portrait. And I'm just gonna, what do I got here? One, two, three. So I've got 5 prompts here that I have selected here. Actually, I don't think this is, yeah, this is the one. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to our next one. For this next one, I'm gonna go ahead and put it back down to 512. But you can see I'm not worried at all right now about using my extra memory with the Colab Pro because it's only eating up like 2 credits an hour basically. So I could do this, all month and have no worries at all. Okay, let's do the next one. Now again for portraits, I'll go ahead and do a sample. We can try maybe a wide one, but for the portraits, I usually put it back down to 512 again. And again, these prompts, all these prompts, what I did was I first created them in the 1.5 just because I'm a lot more familiar with the prompting, and then I switched them over to the 2.1 with the clip interrogator and all. I should do a video on that too one of these days. I'm releasing all my prompts for my weeklies in both versions now on my Patreon page and the YouTube channels. What I'm doing is I'm making the regular 15 a week with 1.5, and then I'm also creating this Stable Diffusion 2 version with that interrogator. And then I also have to modify it a bit from there. So these aren't straight out of the interrogator. This has been modified a bit. So you can see there we get a pretty decent portrait. The 2.1 also apparently does hands better, at least that's what they said, but I don't buy that. AI just cannot do hands yet, but either can a lot of human artists, so that's not really that big of a deal to me. Now let me show you what I mean about these samplers. Whenever we switch to an ancestral, like we can go to this DPM2, it's going to take a little longer to render, and we'll get more of a realistic kind of a 3D rendered image. That does provide a lot more of a kind of 3D look to your images when you use it. And it's still rendering pretty fast. It's still rendering 3 iterations a second. And you can see now we get kind of I'd say a little better quality for this one. It just depends on what your image is. Sometimes you might not want it to look realistic. Sometimes you want to keep that either the Euler or just one of the ones without the ancestral on the top of it, and it'll make it a little more artistic. And these are some of my early prompts here. We're going to get to some better prompts here. Let's go ahead and do this next one here. This one should be a lot more realistic than this one looks. But I just wanted to kind of show you the difference there between those different samplers as well. And then we're going to close this out with a couple of widescreen images that I selected the prompts for specifically to do some widescreen stuff. And I think it's great that this handles the widescreen again now, because I really did miss that. I've actually got some videos I made in widescreen as well. And again, I'll post all these prompts below. These are going to be included in the weeklies for the YouTube channel members. And let's go ahead and start it off with just the Euler. And you can see here that this will render a lot faster. I think about twice as fast. So let's go double check that. Yeah, so this is going at about 6.3 iterations a second. And then we've got the robot, the woman wearing a robot suit taking a selfie. So that's why I usually will test stuff in the Euler first, just because it renders faster. And there we go. There is a very strange robot woman taking a selfie. Let's go ahead now and try the other version. Let's try this one first. This one is pretty similar to the Euler. It still will run just as fast. It's just a different sampler. And it's always good to play around with these different samplers because you can really get, each one kind of has their own flavor. Like I kind of like this one better. That one looks a little more realistic. And that one's not bad either. We got quite a bit of realism actually with this one compared to the other one, but we still got that fast speed of that one. And so there's that one. And this is kind of my go-to usually when I want to make a realistic image. I will go and use this one, or sometimes the Euler Ancestral or this one, but I kind of like this one. Let's go ahead and try this one out. So again, let me show you like with, because a lot of people don't really understand the credit system, but what it does, it gives you, with the Pro Plus, I get 500 credits a month. You can see I still had some left over from last month, and I'm just using 2.2 an hour right now with that extra memory. And again, I'll only crank it up to the A100 like if I want to make a long video, because then it renders a lot faster. But as far as the memory needed to do even like widescreen images, that extra memory doesn't eat up hardly anything. So. And there is the 2.8, and you can see that one is a pretty realistic model. You can get some kind of realistic results. These are kind of my favorite, the realistic ones that also are very surreal as well, like this robot taking a selfie. And so there we go. There is that model. Okay, so let's go ahead and move to my next ones here. So this one I did specifically to do some widescreen. So let's go ahead and we'll crank up the resolution a bit here after I get this prompt entered. And again, I'm not trying to say 2.0 is better than 1.5. I just consider them both different models. I've made some of my own models as well, and I just like, it's just another tool in the toolbox for me. But I do think it does render really clean. That is one thing about the 2.0. It does seem to render very clean images. So let me go ahead now, and we're going to put this to 768. We'll do a little bit wider one here. Then we'll even really open it up after this just for the heck of it. Oh yeah, one more thing too. Anytime you do increase the size, you do want to have a little more steps, maybe a bit more scale as well. We'll just put 10 steps up for now, and this should give us a decent image. I try to use pretty consistent prompts for my weeklies, and that way you don't have to render 10 images to get 3 good ones. So usually if a prompt's included in my weeklies, they are usually consistent. At least that's what I try for. You see with our first image here, that came out pretty good. And again, I really love the fact that this handles the widescreen again now so well. And there's our next one. So you can see this is a pretty good prompt, and I am getting a lot better at the prompting for 2.0. I've been using that interrogator a little bit less and kind of incorporating just some of the modifiers I've learned by using it, or sometimes I'll use it. And yeah, there we go. So that is a pretty nice kind of futuristic looking city over a large body water here. And let's go ahead and change this up to make it a little more realistic. Again, though, I kind of actually like between these two versions, I kind of like this version better. Actually, it kind of looks like a sci-fi painting, So I actually did prefer the Euler model for that one. But let's go ahead and check this next one out. Then I have one more to do here. And this next prompt is actually I made just to show that you can still do artistic stuff with the 2.0 models. It really just depends on your prompt. This handles everything from photorealism to artistic. It doesn't have the same flavor as 1.5, and there's still a lot of things I still really prefer 1.5 for, especially kind of these type of scenes. But this can do them. This can do them. And there we go. So you can see this one. It still looks similar to the last sampler we used, but slightly more realistic. It does take a little bit longer too, especially with the extra resolution we've added in there. That kind of goes up, I think, exponentially when you increase the resolution for these other samplers. It kind of hits them a little harder, it seems. But what I'm going to do after this, we're going to go ahead and try an even bigger one. I'll put it back down to the Euler just because I also kind of prefer that sampler better for this particular prompt. But I wanted to give you guys some good prompts here to use with 2.0 if you're following along with me here and using it. And you can just use the default 2.0. You don't need to download this 2.1 model. I just do prefer it. I think it is a little better than the 2.0. It's kind of like it's very similar. It's just a slightly upgraded version. They kind of they added in some more people so it can handle portraits again because the not safe for work filters took out a lot of people. There's apparently a lot of not safe for work images of people on the internet, which I did not know, but that is apparently the case. Okay, let's try getting crazy here with the resolution. I haven't tried this high for quite a while. We're going to try 1024 by 768. I used to do this size a lot in Disco Diffusion days. Let's just go see how hard this is hitting it too. We're still in the green. Let's see if it goes even up to the yellow. That's really cool. I don't know how good this model is going to handle this. I have downloaded the 768 model, but I had some issues with it, so I'm going to try that again later to see if I just got a bad download. But for now, let's just use this. I am just using the regular 512 model for this, but it does seem to handle the resolutions better. Oh no, what happened? Did we crash? Nope, there it is. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty big and detailed, and I didn't even increase the steps or anything. I don't know if the composition is as good. It looks a little more, I don't know, just not quite as sharp and a little more kind of cluttered, I think. So, but it is handling it though. That's pretty cool that it does handle that. Let's go. I'll let it finish up this last one here. Okay, and there's another one. So you can see I still don't think I even got in the red there. No, I didn't. Didn't even get in the warning. So that's pretty cool just to be able to handle these resolutions again. And I have started making some videos also in widescreen again, which is fun. Let's go ahead to my last prompt here, and then you can get out of here and go and make your own stuff. Whoops, I cut off the A. So this one is kind of like one of those old style retro racing games with the grid kind of pattern. At least that was my idea with it here. And this one was, I think I got it fairly consistent, but let's go ahead and test it out here. Okay. And I'm just going to go put this back down here to, let's actually just start it off at 512 by 512. And we'll just compare the Euler and the other one. Let me go ahead and put the steps back down to 40 again. So steps and scale, they also kind of, I kind of increase these with higher resolution. That's kind of how the scale works. You know, I know a lot of people say that like this is the detail and things like that. Well, it is, but it also everything you do in these notebooks and in the diffusion process kind of has an effect on everything else. So if you turn the resolution up, you want to turn up the steps and the scale a bit too. That's just been my experience with it. So, and there we go. So this is the kind of, so you can see this doesn't look realistic at all. We are getting like an artistic type of image here with the Stable Diffusion 2 model. So a lot of it just depends on your prompt and the models you use, so, or the samplers, I mean. Let's go ahead now and put that sampler up to the more realistic one and see how this turns out. It should still not really look really realistic. It should still look, you know, kind of like our prompt there. So it just depends on what your prompt is and what you're going for. Like I said, to me, this is just another tool in the toolbox. To me, this is a hammer, and the 1.5 is a screwdriver, so I'm not going to replace my screwdriver with a hammer. I'm just going to throw it in the toolbox there with the screwdriver in case I need to use a hammer. And sometimes you do need to use a hammer. Okay, and there we go. And that one's not very good. That one's kind of cool. I kind of like that one better than the other ones we did with Euler. And that one not so much. That one's pretty ugly and very unsymmetrical there. That one's pretty cool. I like that one. So I actually like kind of both of these. Let's go ahead and crank it up to 768. We'll do 6 more images here. I'm going to do 3 each, and then we'll close out this kind of demonstration here. This is also, I also just put this out because a lot of people, their notebooks haven't been working lately, so I want to let them know why. It's because this new notebook, when they did this, I'm not sure what happened, but for some reason it broke the old notebook. So I guess some of the files that it's downloading from the Deforum repository got changed or something like that. But if your notebook isn't working, download this. This one works great. You can still use it with the 1.5 model as well. That was actually, like I showed, the default. You just leave it where it was at, which was on this 1.5 pruned model. So this one has everything, has a lot of models you can use. And if you didn't know how to use custom models now, this guide also shows you how to use custom models. So I'll go ahead and throw that in the description as well. And there we go. That one's kind of cool. And you see, it doesn't look realistic. We are making, a fairly artistic kind of 80s retro looking image with the 2.0 model. So it can still do it. Just depends on how you set your prompt up. Okay, one more here to go. And there we go. That was kind of the aesthetic I was going for. I kind of wanted more of like that grid pattern, but when I did the grid, it was kind of, they weren't really staying in a grid too much, so I'll keep on working on that. But I did get that aesthetic I was going for with that kind of 80s looking video game level here. So we'll do 3 more here, and I'll post all these prompts down below. And we will call this one good. And I will have some, my weekly should be up anytime now. I'm kind of late on them this week. I did post them for my channel members, but I'm going to post the ones for everybody. Probably not tonight. I'm going to have to put that off one more day, I think, because I am still working on the YouTube channel member or the YouTube prompts, which are going to be for everybody. And I'm going to start doing that every week. So I did finish the ones for my Patreon and the YouTube channel members, but I have not done the ones for everybody yet. I am working on those tonight, but those should look really good. That is a beautiful image there to close this out on. That is kind of the thing I was going for. So anyways, I just kind of wanted to show you guys how to use this with the 2.0 or 2.1 model. All right, so you all have a great day, great rest of your night, and I will see you all again very soon. Thank you for watching.